I'm almost ready to start a new project. I want to grow tomatoes indoors all year long and pick tomatoes every week. Now, I don't know if it can be done, and I haven't seen any other videos of anyone doing this, so it'll be an interesting challenge. To help me along with this project, I got some equipment from Spider Fermer. A grow tent, which you can see here, a nice set of LED lights, which are hanging right behind me, and a gravity-fed watering system that we're going to test. I reviewed the gravity-fed watering system about a week ago, and I'll put a link to that video in the description and at the end of this video. In this video, what I want to do is review the Spider Fermer grow tent and the Spider Fermer light system. Let's start with the grow tent. I was going to show you how to assemble it, but to be quite honest with you, it's pretty simple. Inside here is a metal frame, and it comes in small pieces that you put together, and they're all numbered. So as long as you put 2 to 2 together and 3 to 3 together, you'll have no problem assembling it. It also comes with some plastic corner pieces that join the whole thing together. So that's easy. There is one tricky part. Once you have the frame assembled, you have to get it inside the tent. Now that's easy too if you know one little trick. It turns out that the bottom of the tent has zippers at the front and down the sides. So the bottom opens up really nice. The top doesn't have that. So it's important to put the frame into the top first, unzip the bottom, zip it back up as you're fitting it. It's actually pretty easy. It's a pretty sturdy tent. There's also 2 cross pieces that are important. One goes this way and one goes this way. And they help support the top piece, hold the light, and also give some more stability to the frame. That's really all there's to it. So now let's have a look at the tent itself. It's made from a very heavy material. In fact, I was quite surprised how well it was constructed. The inside is covered in mylar. It's an aluminum-looking reflective material. We want as much light reflecting back onto the plants as we can get. The zippers are really heavy-duty zippers, and I think this tent will last a long time. That's the front door. It has a number of windows and openings. They're all Velcro attached. This is a clear window, but of course if we take the window cover off, then we're not going to reflect light. This also has mylar on it, so as much as possible you really want this closed. You can roll this up, but there's a long way to roll it, and there are some tabs here to help you tie it once you get up there. But quite honestly, I think it's easier just to do this. On the side here is another window. This one opens up so you can get in and work on your plants. And there's one on both sides. Because this tent will probably have 4 plants in it, by opening this window, you can actually get in and work at the 2 plants on this side. Go to the other side, open that window, and work on the other 2 plants. I think that's going to be easier than crawling inside the tent all the time. There are a number of openings, and these are double sleeved. So there's an inner sleeve and an outer sleeve with simple draw straps. So you can close them up if you don't want them. If you need more space or you need more ventilation, you just open them up. Down at the bottom here, there's a couple more entrances, one on each side. There's one at the back, there's one at the top, and there's even one that goes out the top of the tent. So there's lots of ways to get wires inside into this tent or for you to get your hands in. Now there's one more piece here, and I think this is one of the best parts of the tent. It's pretty waterproof, but there are some seams at the bottom. To make it even more waterproof, you can put in this extra floor. This piece is completely waterproof. You can connect it at the corners to the posts so it doesn't move. But the nice thing is that once you've used this a while and this gets dirty, you can just pull that out, clean it, and put it back in again. Now some of the kits from Spider Fermer come with a fan, and when they provided this system to me, they didn't include the fan. They didn't think it would be necessary for growing tomatoes. Now I'm not sure about that because I ran this light for a short while and it gets hot in here. So one of the things I'm going to have to figure out is how much ventilation do I really need in a tent like this? If you're using this for growing marijuana, then they generally have an exhaust system in here to take the vapors out of the house. But I think that's overkill for tomato. Besides, we like the smell of tomato. In my previous video on the gravity-fed watering system, I mentioned that this outlet here is higher than the bottom of the tank. So that limits the size of the tank. Instead of 50 liters, you actually only have about 35 liters. In that other video, I also mentioned that there was an outlet at this height, so we could have the reservoir outside the tent and water the plants inside. Once I put the tent together, I realized that that outlet that I was looking at is actually at the top at the back. There is no outlet on this tent at this height. So in order to use this outside, we have a couple options. We can run the tubing from here up into this outlet, but because that raises up the tubing, we're going to lose some more reservoir space. Remember, this is a gravity-fed system, and if we take a tube up like this and into the tent, we will have less water moving from here into the tent. So in fact, this 50-liter reservoir becomes a 25-liter reservoir. Now, the other solution to this is to raise this up. And if we raise this up to this height, then we take it back to a 35-liter reservoir. I'm going to monitor my plants and see how much water they actually need. And then I'll decide if I want to raise this up. I haven't had a chance to actually use this tent, but my first impressions are pretty positive. It's a really rugged system. Things like zippers is the weak point of any of these tents, and these zippers are really nice and strong. The mylar inside looks really good. As we go along in this experiment, it's going to be important for me to figure out how much heat is trapped inside. Does it trap too much humidity? And then how do we solve those problems? The nice thing is that the tank comes with a lot of openings, so I have options for solving those kind of problems. Now let's have a look at the lights. The light I'll be using is the Spider Fermer G3000. This is an LED light that's designed for 3x3 space, which is what we have here in this grow tent. I've used Spider Fermer LED lights before, and I've done a review on at least one other light from them. And one thing that I can say is that this is a high-end light. There's quite a range of LED grow lights, but if you look at the manufacturers and you look at the quality of the lights, Spider Fermer always rates high. The design of these lights has been largely standardized in the last few years. So when we are looking at these lights, you want to really look for a couple things. One is longevity. How long is this light going to last? Spider Fermer offers a 5-year warranty. Almost nobody else in the industry does that. That shows some confidence in their light. The other thing that's important is to actually look at the efficiency of the diodes. All the LED lights have diodes, and they can all tell you the number of diodes they have, and the number sounds great. But what you really want is efficient diodes. The manufacturers can buy more expensive diodes and cheaper diodes. The more expensive ones give you higher light output for every watt of electricity you put in. And those diodes cost a little more, so sometimes the lights cost a little more. With LED lights, you kind of get what you pay for. This light here is what they call the bar style. So instead of one large aluminum plate, you actually have several bars of light. The advantage of this design is that you get better airflow. You get better cooling of the LED lights, and that results in longevity of the lights. The thing that damages LED lights is heat. If we can keep them running cooler, they'll last longer. The G3000 is a 300 watt light, and it has 896 diodes in it. You can take 50 of these and daisy chain them together if you want a large system. Now, one way you evaluate LED lights is to look at the ppfd map. This shows you the amount of light at various places under the light at a certain height. When we look at the ppfd map for Spider Fermer, we find that in the center of the light, 1 foot under the light, gives you a value of 1160. Now I wanted to test that and see how close that number is. So I took the light and I put it in a dark room and just measured the light itself. And I came up with a value of 1020. Then I took that same light and put it in the grow tent. Now we have a lot of reflection coming from the side, so we have more light at that location. And I actually measured it at 1200. So I'm a little bit over what they put in their specification. Now, why do I mention that? Well, it's important to understand that those values are always done in a grow tent. If you're growing outside the grow tent, that light will produce less light, and that's important to keep in mind. A ppfd value of 1200 right here, that's a lot of light. We can grow pretty much anything. In fact, it's way too much light for many types of houseplants. The assembly of the light is pretty simple, but I actually did it wrong. So here's a little trick. At the front here we have the controller, the dimmer switch. Put that in first, then put the power supply in. I did it the other way around, and I put the power supply too far back, and then the cable to the controller was a little short. So I had to take it apart and do it again. It wasn't a big deal, but a little trick for you to remember. Do the dimmer switch first, and then it will go fine. Now the light is supplied with this pulley system, and this has become standard with all the LED grow lights. I think I've gotten a set of these with every light I ever purchased. It's a nice system. You hook this end to your light, and then you can raise and lower it very easily. Now, because I'm growing in the tent, I want the light fairly high, and I thought, well, this might be too long for what I want, but I could pull it all the way up and it would do the job. But then I ran into another small snag. You want to hang the light on this crossbar. Unfortunately, these brackets here are too small to fit on the crossbar, so they don't work inside the grow tent. That's not a big deal for a DIY guy. I was just going to go get some wire and bend it up and make my own little hooks. But then I found some larger hooks that I got from a different light that I wasn't using. So I'm using those. I have one hook onto the light, and that keeps it nice and high. Now I'm going to have to monitor the heat here because I don't want too much heat getting to the top of the tent. I don't want a fire here. So I don't yet know how high I can actually hang it. But with my clamps, I no longer have the pulley system. So I can't really adjust it up and down. It's kind of stuck here. If this height isn't going to be right, I'm going to have to come up with a different solution. So now you're probably wondering, does this light actually work? Well, right now it's set to 0. So let me turn it up and show you what it looks like. Now it's at 100%. This control is really nice because it's a continual adjustment. You can go from 0 to 100 and set it wherever you want. The controller also acts like a switch. If I press it once, the light is now controlled by a daisy chain system. And so some other controller will control this light as well. If I press it again, it's ready for the app. There is an actual app, and you will have to buy an extra controller to make this work, but you can control the timing of the lights and the intensity and so on through a phone app. I'm old school, I don't need that. I'm simply going to plug it into a wall timer and run it that way. That's what I do for all my LED lights. So I'm all set to grow. I have the tent, I have the light, and I have the automatic watering system. In another week or two, I'll do a video and show you the actual setup with plants in here. And we'll discuss some of the difficulties I might have with this whole system. Part of the goal with this experiment is to understand growing tomatoes indoors. What kind of problems am I going to have? How am I going to prune them to produce for a whole year? I'm not quite sure what the answer is. I'm also going to compare top watering or manual watering with this automated watering system. Which does better? And I'm going to look at 2 different types of tomatoes in here. We're going to do the Sweet 100 cherries, which I've been growing for 50 years. And I'm also going to do the new GMO purple tomatoes. That's going to be exciting. And we'll be able to compare those 2 types. When my next video is ready, I'll put a link to it at the end of this one. And I'll add it into the description. If you want to see my review video for the gravity-fed watering system, click here. Happy gardening.